Wow, did we get a nice update to the iGrid dual bands today? So I gave an updated file out to the Grid Algo group. So what do we have here? Let's talk about this, what we've added, what's in the works. This is the iGrid dual bands indicator. These are adaptive price bands. So we have main bands and then we have fast bands. So they're combined together as one indicator. So on live tick data, tick by tick, each segment of both the main bands and the fast bands do not repaint. There are no repainting. They do not recalculate. There's no code in the indicator that would allow it to recalculate. The street term is repainting, so these are no repainting. Now this is iGrid Pack 2. In iGrid Pack 1, I do have a set of bands that have fractional recalculating. They recalculate about 1/7 as much as like a old school TMA. I like those for certain types of trading. Most traders, though, want no repainting, that don't understand how to use recalculating bands, and they're unique. So I have no repainting bands that I first built in 2008, and this is about generation 5 of the bands. I've had them in NT8 since 2008. Okay, so uh, these bands and the way they plot are a little, what should I say? I don't want to say they're overly complicated for NinjaTrader, but NinjaTrader, let's just be honest, is getting old. The NinjaTrader 8 is getting old. It's on Microsoft.NET, like what, version 4 point something, where Quant Tower is on Microsoft.NET, like version 8 and 8 and change or 8. And then NinjaTrader, how it utilizes Microsoft DirectX for graphics is behind what I would say is going on with Quant Tower and some of the other platforms, or like TickBlaze, for instance. So getting these bands to work in NT8 is kind of a challenge, and getting the plot, how they appear on your chart, is interesting, but we've got it working. So uh, there's no such thing as a holy grail indicator. There's no perfect indicator. I will say in NT8, the only way that I use these bands is I watch them on live tick by tick data real time. So now if I were to disconnect my feed and reconnect, the bands would then get filled with historical back data, which I think is what, open, high, low, close only, where the bands are reading the data tick by tick. So shutting down NinjaTrader and restarting it will change the plot of the bands, which I don't care about. And there's one way I can account for that. I could have a folder. So every little line segment that appears, and I have mine set to, I think, dot. I could have it a continuous line, and I'll show you the settings. I don't like it. I just like it a dot. So each new dot, I could have a folder that says, okay, as I'm running the bands, every dot where it was horizontally, its price value for the fast bands, upper, lower, mid band, and then the main bands, upper, mid band, lower. I could store those in a folder where they were, and then let's say I shut down NinjaTrader and then I turned it back on, and then it would read that folder and go back, whatever I set it, like 1,000 bars or whatever. Then exactly where the band plot was live would match perfectly with historical data. Now there's another way, that's kind of the clunky way to me of, for those traders that absolutely have to have the chart when they've turned it off and turned it back on, look exactly the way it would live. Well, that's fine with old school indicators. This indicator's in a kind of a different realm from old school stuff. So the way we're looking at price and calculating is biased towards I want to use it in live market data, and I want it to give me decisions on when is or areas of when price is, in an area where I could potentially be a buyer or seller. Th- I trade on the hard right edge of the chart on live data. I don't trade on my chart when I've shut it down or restart it and all that garbage or refreshing it intraday. So anyhow, to kind of account for some of the inadequacies of NinjaTrader 8 and how it deals with this type of indicator, I've been working on some endpoint smoothing that will, in a sense, do almost the same thing as if I saved a file. And so, that's been a big process working through that to see what works. And we found ways that work. And this is an updated file that I just put out today that has a lot of these kind of improvements that are going to be added. And I'm just getting warmed up. These bands, I have so many ideas for them because I'm just sitting here nowadays and just hand trading the crap out of the market with the bands on different time frames, pretty much NASDAQ only. But I mean, you can use these on oil, on crypto pairs, on ES, whatever you want. And the beauty about the bands don't care what kind of bar type you're on. You could use volume, tick, range bar, time-based charts, Heikin-Ashi, uh, volumetric, Unirenko, Ninzarenko, grid bars, grid Renko. The bands are not codependent on a specific bar type or a specific time frame. So I could go on really low time frames and do hyper scalping, or I could go on high time frames and catch the bigger picture structural moves. But I just put these out. So it's like are the bands going to be different 2-3 weeks from now from where they are? Yeah, I have all kinds of ideas. I'm going to keep every little idea I have in my head of what I want to do with these bands. I'm going to be adding rapidly to kind of take them to their ultimate level. So, what do we have right now? Well, we have the dual bands. You have the ability to go in and let's go ahead and take a look at the settings. So right now I can set the responsiveness of the main bands. So here's the main bands. The main bands are the dynamic range of price. It helps me frame up price action to see where should I be a buyer, where should I be a seller. It helps me on the fly with a visually efficient approach right away let me know where are good potential areas to be a buyer seller. That way I don't have to track levels, ICT this, delta that, blah, 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 blah. It's just, I want to throw something on my notebook, my laptop, my computer, watch it. When I see the market entertaining edges of the dynamic range, then I can work mean reversion trades from those points. Now, there's other ways that we use the bands. We don't just do mean reversion. You can do some damn good trend following stuff too. And there's some high momentum moves that I teach the group when I watch the fast bands pinch a certain way. They narrow up, then I can throw liquidity into high momentum moves. Okay, so now I can go in and adjust the fast bands, how responsive they are, how wide they are with the main bands. I can go in right now, I have the lines on. I can turn them off. I can have sounds when we're getting these bullish kind of notices that, hey, the fast bands were outside of the main bands and they're coming back inside. Hey, the fast bands were below the main bands, they're coming back inside, and so on. And I can change the color of the lines, the style of the lines, the sound alerts if you have that set. And then I can get all the way down here and I can set all the colors and styles that I want for the various lines. All the mid bands of both the fast bands. So the fast bands I can set the upper color, the style of line, the mid band, the lower. I don't like watching the mid band on the fast bands, but I always have the mid band showing for the main bands. So all of that's in there and verified today by everybody in the Grid Algo group. These outputs, these cross points, and the triangles, not up and down triangles. I'll tell you what they're all outputs. So for Algo Studio Pro, for any other third-party tools like Bloodhound Blackbird, Markers Plus, Captain Optimus. So that way you can use the band positioning as outputs for both fast and main bands. You can use the triangles as outputs, and you can use the crosses as outputs. That way you can go off and use those outputs and build whatever kind of automated entry and in-trade management you want. And I'm going to make a little announcement right here. You might not have heard, but let me point this out real quick. Let me give an attaboy to the developers of Algo Studio Pro. So Algo Studio Pro is coming to Quantower. They're currently on NT8 and they're going to Quantower. That's a really, really smart move. I talked to the developer of Algo Studio Pro, I don't know, 10 days ago, 11 days ago, and was just telling him, I said, hey, are you guys looking at Quantower? And they said, yeah, we are. I said, wow, I would really, really love to use your tool on Quantower because Quantower is at least 2 tiers beyond NinjaTrader as far as, it's a little bit more modern software architecture. And I like the graphics and some of the advanced stuff I can do. And the bands are working wondrously in Quantower, and we're finally getting ready to deploy that. I know I've been saying that for like 2 months, but my gosh, I've had a heck of a time finding a good Quantower programmer, and I'm on like my 3rd one, and I finally got somebody that's actually producing results. And hey, sometimes that's how it goes. I don't have control over the programmers. It's kind of a trial and error type experience. We got a great programmer now on the NT8 stuff to dial it all in. And so anyhow, the dual bands are available now. So we have available our iGrid Pack 1 that has a whole bunch of indicators. We have the iGrid Pack 2 that we're starting off with the dual bands. We're going to add some more items to that chart. And so some of the other ways that I want to show you how you can use these bands real quick. Let me show you some examples. So one thing I really like to use the bands for, in addition to paying attention to the bearish and bullish, dual band signals, I do like when I see a market, like here's a big beautiful W pattern, and then we started lifting, and I like when I see both bands start hooking upward of the fast bands. Here's another one. We get a pullback and hook, pullback and hook. And these are happening while I'm at the mid band of the main bands or below. So work in some liquidity, tight stop just below most recent price pivot. Work in some liquidity, tight stop. You can just sit there and quick scalp pullbacks in, where you see in the main bands in what I would call this would be a developing trend. And then you'll see them in running trends when the trend just keeps going, when you get the deep pullbacks and hooks in both bands, work in some liquidity, tight stop. Here's this. I've had an established downtrend that had been running throughout the morning. Actually, that was out of a news release, but I like this. I don't even have to get a big excursion outside the bands. I get these hooks. I start seeing it hooking, and I can work an entry that's at the mid band or above when I'm selling with a stop just above most recent price pivot and take shots. And then there's another thing that I teach my group. When the bands get very close together, and it happens a lot out of signals, that's called a linear price movement. When I look for those, and I'll throw liquidity into those with a very tight stop and just let it run. And then I'll just keep advancing the stop, just little quick scalp stuff. So there you have it. If you have any questions, info@gridalgo.com. Watch in the next few days. I'm going to be making a massive announcement about the Quantower program launch. It's been very, very delayed, but I found a good programmer, and we got the bands working, and I'm ready to go. Talk to y'all later.